My name is Will Cooper, and I have been with the museum for 18 years in the capacity of office manager. Well, what led me to this? I had never worked in my field where I got my degree, and that was in archaeology at the University of South Carolina. I was a military brat, Air Force, so I traveled around quite a bit. And all that time I had been in business. And when I came back here, I stayed in the business sector. I went to Wichita for a while, worked down there, and didn't want to be in such a large area anymore. So I came back to Salina, which is my hometown, and this became available through word of mouth. And I thought, you know, I haven't put my degree to use. It doesn't really fit 100%, but it's close. And came in, interviewed, said, "Would you like to start?" And I said, "When do you want me?" And been here now, like I said, for 18 years. This museum promotes itself as an agricultural museum. That's what it started out with. The first building went up in 1980, and that would have been our large agricultural display building. That houses most of our displays. Implements, tractors, seeders, hullers, all that kind of stuff. It also has balconies where we do have cultural displays that pertain more towards farm living, what was used in a farmhouse, that kind of thing. So being around that long, it kind of spread out over the years. We were very fortunate in getting the Hawks one-room schoolhouse from around the Nickambra area. That was built in 1927. We erected it up here and restored it pretty much to its original condition. After that, the sawmill came in. You wouldn't typically think of a sawmill in Kansas because back in those days there weren't a lot of trees. Mostly hardwoods around the creeks and the rivers and stuff, but we have used it during activities and events, especially during a fall show, which we've had in previous years. The latest would have been the Wells Methodist Church from 1901. We brought it down on flatbed, restored it. We had wonderful volunteers who were gifted in craftsmanship for brick, wood, you name it, they were able to do it. We had the steeple reconstructed on the church, and since that time, which was about 2008 when it was completed, we've hosted around 35 weddings and everything, mostly for younger couples who are just starting out in life and kind of want something simple, a little more rustic. You know, so very enjoyable to have those kind of activities on the grounds. So, but primarily during our activities and events, we do promote the agricultural side. We have done wheat bundling, we have done corn shelling, corn planting, corn picking, we have baled. One of the most hottest, miserable jobs you could think of. We had people come out and set up wheat stalks that we have cut and give them an opportunity to do a hands-on activity that probably a lot of their previous ancestors had done, but they hadn't done themselves. So, you know, gives them an opportunity. This is a more recent building, went up in about 2001. This is called the Heritage Building. This is where the meeting hall, my office is located. And as you can see around you, there's a brief overview of what we have that represents the museum. Could be anywhere from smaller implements such as corn shellers, corn grinders. Behind us is a wheat laboratory for protein and moisture content for wheat seed. A parlor sits in here. The history of washing is around the side. So it's just a little bit of a welcoming overview to what we have at the museum. And then our buildings are spread out. The large agricultural building is large. It's like 300, 250 by 150. And that's where we hold our tractors, implements, shellers, seeders, cleaners, hullers, tractors. Again, balconies are in there. They are more culturally oriented. We have the Bridgeport General Store reconstructed in there. We have representation of a parlor, early barber shop. We have a bedroom that would have been used. It gives, especially the younger generation, the kids that come in, it gives them an idea that not everything was at your fingertips back then. Electricity was not used. You had kind of a running joke, but you had chamber pots that were used in the bedroom, and they always get a kick out of that. They just giggle and laugh. It's just like, oh, you know, that's kind of how it went, you know. So it gives an idea that you don't just sit on a couch, play video games, and have the internet and the world at your fingertips. Again, the church and the school are out back. They're separated a little bit. The sawmill, again, out back. We have had a steam traction engine hooked up to that. We have had tractors hooked up to that where it will run the blades. The blade itself is about 5 feet in diameter with large teeth on it, and a little intimidating to get next to. We always make sure that the people who are involved in that are knowledgeable and attentive. And we always ask the people who are viewing in the past, please keep your distance. You know, this is a demonstration and not to get near, you know. So we do sit on approximately 24 acres, so we can spread out and do these kind of things. We can have people wander the grounds while these activities are going on, and they can take in other sites as well. We are not immune to the effects of the pandemic. A lot of it depended on the restrictions put on by the city and the county of how many people you could manage to have. We have been affected, yes. People are not traveling like they used to. They're homebound. Their disposable income maybe has gone down. There's a lot of factors that went into it, and we saw a sharp decline in visitation numbers. I've talked to other entities, other museums. They've had the same issue. They're hoping to rebound now that the vaccine is out and seeing if the numbers will come back. But something like that always takes time. You know, you just don't immediately head out and resume your life the following day. You kind of build up to it, you know. There's a lot of planning in going on trips and destinations and stuff. So, you know, we are not the largest attraction. We might not be the most interesting attraction. It depends on your interest. You know, we are agricultural related. But on the other hand, when you're talking to people who are from an urban setting, it's fun to talk to that about them. They hopefully are entertained while they learn. I mean, nobody likes to have information just forced on them. But, you know, we do talk to them about, hey, this is point A to point B to point C. This is the procedure you follow when you're farming. And of course, then they kind of remember then, oh, you know, so-and-so from the past lived on a farm. You know, we didn't know much about them, or we might not even have known them at all, but they can relate. They have stories that they can bring into it. So it's fun to pass that on. We are going to, in April, have a tractor and car show. The local car club here in town and the local tractor club are going to be bringing out vehicles and tractors of different eras and everything, and they will be on display on the grounds of the museum, and that's open to the public. There will be a lunch that day, and it's interesting. You get to talk to the people who are responsible and owners of the vehicles, so you're going to get their story. You know, maybe they've done some restoration, or maybe they've kept it original, or maybe they've just given it a polish and wanted to show it off, you know. That's going to be an all-day event. We do become involved in things such as the Mid-America Farm Expo. We will have a booth there, informational. We have been involved in Discover Salina Naturally, where we will have a table out there. I usually make ropes for the kids and promote the museum. We'll have a number of smaller artifacts that be transported out there and shown. After that, in July would probably be what they call the social for the 4th of July. Maybe ice cream, drink, and potentially movie night. If you want to show an old Western or something like that. It gives the people an opportunity to socialize and talk, which after all of us have been, put away for so long and not able to do a lot of that, might really be interesting and fun. And we may have more people than expected. So probably one of the favorite parts is the interaction with the visitors. We have had people from Australia, China, Russia, Belarus, a very interesting couple from the Ukraine. The kinds of languages you hear are amazing. Fortunately, a lot of Europeans do use English as a second language. The Americans, not so much. There's a lot of languages to choose from and you don't know which one to pick. But listening to them and interacting with them is it's fun. It's fun to hear what their culture is like, what their lives are like. What do they do for a living? How would they react to something that we would react to in maybe a different manner, So definitely the visitation is a big portion of it. But also putting on the events, showing people what we have, what is still being able to use. Even though the equipment is old, that doesn't mean it's not good anymore. It doesn't mean that it's not worthy of being used. It's just a different era, a slower pace. You still get the job done, just not as quick and efficiently as the newer modern equipment does. But it just shows you what kind of life the people had back then. A family farm especially, it was a self-contained, little community in itself. It had the family, but you had everything pretty much needed to survive on the farm. Your meat from the animals, your milk if it was dairy, grain, vegetable garden, butter, anything that you could think of to make for yourself. It very reliant on the family to pull their weight, each and every one of them to do the job. So it's fun to pass that on to people too. So yeah, the demonstrations are definitely a big part of that, just to show people this is how it was, this is where we came from, and it's part of the story of how we got to where we are. It's kind of a missing part of the jigsaw puzzle. And even around in Salina, when I was younger, was more rural, more ag-related. Not so much now. Very much retail, manufacturing, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, a lot of families that have lived in the area, they've sold off their land. Maybe the kids didn't want to take it over. Maybe it wasn't appealing to them. And on one hand, you respect their decision and their willingness to go out and create an opportunity for themselves. But on the other hand, it's sad to see that go away, that the family is not continued on the same property, the same generation, the same lineage, and you're basically looking at a farm that you knew by one name, and now it's somebody else that you have no connection with, So it all changes. It definitely changes.